If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Sunday morning. With us today is Joseph Hernandez. He ran for mayor in the city of New York last year. Now he's running for New York State Comptroller, and he's got the nomination for it. And Joseph is a friend. He's a Cuban-American immigrant and a biotech entrepreneur. Well, you want to run for Comptroller of the state of New York. Tom DiNapoli has had it for 19 years already. What would you do different?
Yeah, thank you, John, for having me. I really appreciate it. Look, I'm delighted to be here. I'm running for comptroller because I'm just trying to pay back the debt that I owe to America. You know, as I mentioned to you, as you know, I'm a Cuban immigrant. I came here at the age of 7, and this country has given me so much, and I feel like I need to pay back. And honestly, New York is in a lot of trouble. New York fiscally is in a lot of trouble. I mean, you're seeing what's going on at the state and city level. We're just in a financial crisis, in my humble opinion. So we need somebody who really knows how to run things and knows how to manage money. Tom's a nice guy. Everybody that I speak to says he's a great guy. So I'm not questioning his character as an individual, but the performance says a lot. And I mean, if you look at the returns of the fund, which is one of the roles of the comptroller's office, you know, those returns are incredibly low. It's about 5.8% return. Just to put it into perspective, the Treasury's return about 4.25%. So he's not far out from the Treasury returns, which is really dismal performance in my opinion. So the pension fund's not performing. The other thing is, you know, we have massive, as you know, John, fraud and abuse in the system, especially around Medicaid, around the MTA, I would argue, and you know, the Department of Education is one of our largest budgets. We need to kind of see what's going on there as well. And unfortunately, nothing's been done about that. Nobody's really scrutinized those agencies or those entities, and we got to do that. We got to do that. So I plan to build an in-house investment team to increase the returns of the pension fund, which is a $300 billion fund, massive fund, one of the largest in America, one of the largest funds in America. And then in terms of the fraud and abuse, we're going to go ahead and bring in I want to form what I call the in-house fraud strike team, which is going to be made up of forensic accountants and prosecutors that know how to prosecute criminal financial crimes, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to clean up shop, and then the last thing we want to do with the office is we want to invest in New York. Part of what the fund does, it does a lot of venture investments and a lot of new company investments and so forth. So what we want to do is we want to invest in New York. We want to go ahead and invest in the upper parts of the states and the western parts of the states that have really been left behind economically, and bring some great companies to that area so that we have, the next generation of taxpayers, but also the next generation of jobs for our kids. And I plan to execute on that like I do everything else and from a business perspective. And look, no critique to the current comptroller, but the reality is performance is not there and oversight is not there.
So in other words, you would invest more money into the New York State system?
Yeah, absolutely. I would do what economic development venture funds do. And again, look, you have to use your fiduciary duty is to make sure you get an internal rate of return on the investments. But you can do that. You can do good investments and bring good companies to New York. So my strategy is to effectively incentivize companies to move to the state of New York by investing in them from an equity perspective. So you get returns on the investment and you get returns on having those companies here and creating jobs. And I think if you do that aggressively, and I plan to do it very aggressively, plan to allocate $10 billion to do that, I think you're going to have success.
Well, Joseph Hernandez, also the fact is that one of the problems we have in New York, it's a state where we have bigger exodus than people coming
Absolutely.
in. What are your ideas on that?
Problem. It's a real problem. I mean, look, I do the numbers, and I'm a numbers guy. I ran, and there's about 82,000 people that pay the majority of the taxes for the state of New York, and there's about 700.
And I think the statistics are 2% of your the New Yorkers are paying 48% of the taxes.
Correct.
And
Absolutely
the
right,
fact is, the new mayor is pushing the governor to raise the amount of taxes. And
It's
I point
insanity.
out that the exodus will continue even more.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to see, and you're already seeing it. Look, I've had good friends that are in the investment community, and they're saying, you know what, screw it, I'm going to Florida, and you don't want that. These people are the ones that create jobs, and they pump money into the economy. They're important for the tax base, and as we increase the budget on expenditures, which is what we've done, this current city budget has an extra $11 billion of expenses. Our state budget is $262 billion, and it's insanity. I mean, these budgets are bigger than most
We're almost
countries.
$300 billion because they're proposing $127 billion just for New York City, which is big.
It's
That's
crazy.
bigger than the whole state of Florida.
That's right. And the state of Florida has 23 million people.
Yes.
I think this is government run amok. We need to change it. I'm really glad to be partnering up with Bruce Blakeman, who's really an operator. He's ran Nassau County like New York should be run. It's one of the safest counties in the nation. I think it's the safest county in the nation. They haven't increased taxes. I mean, there's economic growth there. People feel safe there, and people feel happy there. And I think we got to replicate that across the state. So I'm proud to be partnering up with him and the rest of the GOP candidates to be able to change the trajectory of New York, because if we don't, New York is not going to be around for our kids.
Joe Hernandez, thank you so much for coming on this Sunday morning, and please keep us informed. It's a long way till November.
Exactly. Thank you, John. I appreciate you and appreciate everything you do. God bless.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our country has to offer, especially health care. Across every state, every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.